Russia's chief diplomat says Western powers are asking Moscow to end its bombing raids in Syria against the al-Qaeda-linked Nusra Front terror group.
We are told that we shouldn't target al-Nusra because it includes the moderate opposition. But this moderate opposition ought to withdraw from terrorist positions, as we agreed a long time ago.
State Department's Mark Toner said the U.S. called on Moscow to better distinguish between the opposition and terrorists. Here.
Secretary conveyed to Russia and the Assad regime the need to carefully distinguish between these terrorist groups operating on the ground and those parties to the COH.
The problem is Washington itself is having a hard time separating the rebels in Syria from terrorists. In the context of this cessation of hostilities deal, it is incumbent on the U.S. to exert its influence on the opposition groups in Syria to stop what the U.S. calls intermingling with groups like al-Nusra, which is al-Qaeda in Syria. What we've been hearing from the U.S. State Department in the past few months is that it's a challenge and that they're working on it.
The U.S. and other governments who have influence on the opposition to convey to them that they do need to disentangle. It's an ongoing challenge. Again, this is not an overnight thing. I would say it's our challenge, and we're working to meet and address that challenge.
Trying to separate the groups. A very tough task.
There's yet no indication that the rebel groups are separating from terrorists, particularly in and around Aleppo. Moreover, we saw reports that one of the largest rebel groups, Ahrar al-Sham, has carried out a joint operation with al-Nusra. It was a massacre in an Alawite village, al-Zara, in May.
They attacked our village. Many were killed. My brother is among the dead. His children were wounded. They killed entire families.
We were asleep when at 4 in the morning, intense shooting woke us up. Then a shell exploded in the neighbor's yard. We ran through the prickly bushes before we got to a safe place.
Terrorists mercilessly killed 4 or 5 families. They killed a 90-year-old man, his children and grandchildren, and also women from another family we know.
Washington has blocked efforts to blacklist Ahrar al-Sham along with al-Nusra, and it maintains that an attack on that group with known ties to al-Nusra is a violation of the cessation of hostilities agreement.
Well, we talked to geopolitical analyst Patrick Henningsen about this. He says that the U.S. needs to use its leverage with the so-called moderate rebels to resolve the conflict.
The areas that they're calling rebel-held areas or rebel positions, these are terrorist-held areas. They're terrorist-held positions, and the terrorists are using civilians as human shields, and the classification of moderate rebels is a type of a human shield. There's only one solution, and that's the U.S. has to basically tell its moderate rebels to clear out and to get out of the way. So all this talk of commingling and all this is all doublespeak, and this is really exposing, in my opinion, and many others, a crooked agenda by the U.S., who's basically trying to play both sides of this to continue this conflict, and it will just continue on for months and years if this current situation is allowed to hold up.